As explained by Van Crayonord in Response to Intervention, New Ways in Wariness, and her review of evidence-based reading practices for response to intervention, RTI is a way to support struggling readers by providing extended instruction to meet the needs of individual learners. RTI provides intervention at the struggling points of readers. For example, phonemic awareness, letter naming, phonics, fluency, word recognition, or comprehension.
RTI was also created as part of the Individuals with Disabilities Act as a way to provide a plan of action to support and intervene based on their identified disability or struggling point. This was a change from the previous focus of IDEA, which stressed only identifying the disability but lacked information about how to provide support. RTI does not only provide supports for students with disabilities, but also regular education students who may be struggling.
Approximately 2/3 of 8th grade and 12th grade students read at less than the proficient level on the National Assessment of Educational Progress, as explained by Brazo. Knowing this, it is imperative that students receive literacy assistance and RTI support during the early elementary years prior to reaching middle and high school.
As supported by Woodward, RTI is important to student learning because it helps struggling readers and students with learning disabilities target their literacy needs and work towards a learning goal. It provides individualized assistance in which students can be supported while working on their reading abilities. When drawing connections between research and student teaching placements, we considered both our 1st grade and 5th grade placements.
I have noticed strong connections between my 1st grade student teaching placement and response to intervention journals and research. In my 1st grade placement, RTI Tier 2 instruction took place 3 times a week, Tier 3 5 times a week, and Tier 1 daily. Students were grouped based on their needs, and those needs were targeted on a daily basis. RTI groups were conducted by grade-level classroom teachers with groups of no more than 6 or 7 students. In connection with Woodward, RTI grouping was based on who would benefit from small group instruction, individualized attention, ability, distractions, and daily reading consistency. Based on my classroom experience and the beginning stages of students learning how to read, I was interested in learning about how needs were defined and how students could be grouped for RTI based on those needs. Learning how to read is a crucial part of 1st grade, and I was interested in exploring instructional approaches in order to further support that learning.
In my 5th grade classroom, every day for 30 minutes, we had students come into the class for Tier 3 response to intervention. The students were placed in our Tier 3 intervention group based on their scores from a standardized test. Every day we worked on comprehension skills and bettering the students' ability to make inferences about what they were reading. I wanted to explore more about RTI because I believed it is very beneficial, especially to those who are placed in Tier 3 groups. Unfortunately, due to the shuffling of materials during construction, the specific response to intervention curriculum was among the missing. Not having the materials made me curious as to what RTI was meant to entail and how it was intended to be implemented. From reading Duhan, I learned that RTI was implemented to be used as more of a progress monitor than a specific set of guidelines or goals relating back to the Common Core. The students must be assessed continually in order to measure and monitor their performance and improvement. The RTI framework consists of 4 parts. Part 1 is the Tier 3 framework, Part 2 is the universal assessment, followed by progress monitoring for Part 3. Part 4 involves summative assessment. RTI instruction is used not only in elementary schools, but in secondary schools as well.
Response to intervention involves 3 tiers of support. Tier 1 is the instruction that is provided to all students, usually done in a whole group setting in the classroom. Tier 2, as explained by Duhan, is short-term instruction for small groups of students who need extra support. The 3rd tier is the most intensive level of instruction and usually takes place in a one-to-one context. The tier that students are placed in depends on their responses to interventions during any given tier.
In order to define the needs of students in terms of Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3 RTI instructions, oftentimes schools implement a universal screening assessment. Students who are placed in a tier beyond Tier 1 have progress monitoring assessments during their intervention instruction to determine if they are responding to instruction.
In relation to what we learned about how RTI supports struggling readers, reading is an integral part of a child's academic development. Additionally, providing children with more opportunities to read different texts through tiered instruction can increase prior knowledge, which in turn increases comprehension. As classroom teachers, our goal is to provide opportunities for all students to learn. RTI is just one way to provide that opportunity.
RTI in its intervention instruction is also important to our roles as future classroom teachers in the sense that students are able to gain the confidence that they can learn. Many struggling readers and students with learning disabilities have difficulty completing tasks throughout the school day because they can't read a math problem or they struggle to read or comprehend instructions. RTI time allows the teacher to target those areas of need, providing students with a series of tasks that they can complete while also improving their reading skills. Feeling confident in your ability to learn is an important part in achieving academic success.
One approach for implementing RTI instruction into the classroom is to assess students' literacy abilities. Following this assessment, take note of student needs and group students based on those needs for tiered instruction. Progress monitoring is an important part of implementing RTI in the classroom, as it is important to take note of students' ability to progress and respond to the intervention strategies. For example, if there is a group of first grade students struggling with word recognition, they could be placed in a small group for Tier 2 instruction. These students may be working on reading decodable readers in which they can practice fluency as well as word identification of high-frequency words. Another example is if there is a group of 5th grade students struggling with reading comprehension. They could be placed in a small group for Tier 2 instruction as well. These students may work on segmenting parts of the text and practicing different strategies such as making predictions, asking questions, summarizing, and identifying the problem, solution, or theme. Overall, RTI instruction supports the needs of learners during all stages of their academic career.